Chapter 7: The Control of Information. Sun Tzu wrote, "If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles." Yet how do you come to know either? Through information. Knowledge is the ultimate force multiplier, and information is its raw material. The Sigma, like the master strategist, understands that information is both weapon and shield. To control it is to control the battlefield, whether that battlefield is military, corporate, or personal. We live in an era drowning in information. Every second, more data is produced than a human could process in a lifetime. But the flood of data does not mean the rise of wisdom. In fact, abundance often obscures truth. Noise drowns signal. To the untrained, excess information paralyzes rather than empowers. The Sigma rises above this chaos by applying the ancient principles of Sun Tzu to the modern information war. Information as power. Sun Tzu taught, "Foreknowledge cannot be elicited from spirits, nor from gods, nor by analogy with past events, nor from calculations. It must be obtained from men who know the enemy situation." He was describing intelligence gathering, spies, scouts, informants. Today, information still carries this weight. But now, intelligence comes not from scouts on horseback but from observation of markets, analysis of digital footprints, awareness of human psychology. The Sigma, like Sun Tzu's general, gathers information selectively, filters it, and deploys it with precision. He does not need to know everything. He needs to know what matters. That is the art. Withholding as strength. Information is not only about what you gather but what you release. Sun Tzu said, "Appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend, march swiftly to places where you are not expected." To appear unexpectedly, you must conceal your true intentions. The Sigma does not disclose his next move. He shares little, reveals little, and guards his inner plans carefully. Not because he is paranoid, but because he understands that disclosure weakens position. Those who overshare their ambitions often sabotage themselves. Rivals adapt, opportunities vanish, traps are set. By contrast, the Sigma practices discretion. He may appear open in conversation but reveals nothing critical. He may seem transparent yet keeps his real plan sealed. This frustrates rivals, confuses competitors, and protects his sovereignty. The modern oversharing trap. Our age incentivizes disclosure. People livestream their lives, tweet their intentions, publish their dreams, announce their goals before they are achieved. Visibility is rewarded socially, but strategically, it is dangerous. Sun Tzu warned, "The whole secret lies in confusing the enemy, so that he cannot fathom our real intent." The Sigma takes this literally. He does not confuse through lies but through restraint. By saying less, he leaves others uncertain. They cannot prepare for what they cannot predict. Oversharers are easy to anticipate. The Sigma is not. His silence is his shield. Information in business. Consider corporate strategy. When Apple develops a new product, secrecy is absolute. Employees are compartmentalized, leaks are punished, and the public knows nothing until launch. This control of information creates shockwaves when the product finally appears. Competitors scramble, markets shift, and Apple holds advantage. Now contrast this with companies that preview every plan, telegraph every product, or hype projects long before delivery. They forfeit surprise. Competitors adjust. Expectations inflate. Disappointment looms. The Sigma mirrors Apple's secrecy. He does not boast of what he is building. He builds in silence, unveils with impact. Spies and modern intelligence. Sun Tzu dedicated an entire chapter to spies, enlightened rulers and good generals who are able to obtain intelligent agents, as spies are certain for great achievements. For the Sigma, spies are not literal but symbolic. They are sources of insight, books, mentors, careful observation, listening to what others reveal carelessly. The Sigma gathers intelligence not through manipulation but through awareness. He listens more than he speaks. He watches patterns others overlook. In conversation, most people broadcast information about themselves. They reveal priorities, fears, desires. The Sigma trains himself to extract insight from these unguarded disclosures. By listening, he gathers intelligence more valuable than anything he could ask for directly. Information and Stoic silence. The Stoics echoed this. Epictetus advised, be mostly silent, or speak only what is necessary, and in few words. Silence is not just discipline, it is strategy. By speaking less, the Sigma reveals less and gathers more. Seneca wrote, the greatest remedy for anger is delay. Delay in speech, delay in reaction, these prevent information from leaking prematurely. The Sigma, like the Stoic, holds back until words are necessary, and even then, they are measured. Psychological warfare. Sun Tzu said, hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder, and crush him. Information control is psychological warfare. By controlling what others perceive, you can shape their reactions. The Sigma uses this subtly. He may allow a rival to believe he is uninterested, only to strike when the rival grows careless. He may feign weakness in one domain while preparing strength in another. He controls what others believe about him, and in doing so, controls how they act toward him. This is not manipulation in the petty sense. It is strategy in the profound sense, to master what you reveal, so that others reveal themselves instead. Case study, the quiet diplomat. Consider George Washington during the Revolutionary War. He lacked troops, supplies, and experience compared to the British. But he mastered information. He planted false intelligence, exaggerated his strength, and concealed his weaknesses. British generals often overestimated his army, moving cautiously when they could have struck decisively. Washington's mastery of information bought time, space, and ultimately victory. The Sigma draws from this. He does not need overwhelming resources if he controls perception. Information discipline in relationships. Even in relationships, control of information matters. Not through deception, but through discretion. The Sigma does not overshare emotional turbulence, nor does he broadcast every thought. He communicates honestly, but with restraint. He knows timing matters as much as truth. Sun Tzu advised, he will win who has military capacity and is not interfered with by the sovereign. Applied personally, he will win who shares wisely and is not interfered with by premature disclosure. The Sigma protects his emotional strategy by controlling what he reveals and when. The economy of words. Words are energy. To waste words is to waste power. Sun Tzu himself wrote with brevity. His art of war spans only a few thousand words yet has endured millennia. The Sigma mirrors this economy. He does not flood conversations with noise. He speaks little, but each word carries weight. In the courtroom, the most effective lawyers are not those who speak endlessly, but those who strike with precision. In business, the most effective pitch is often the shortest, clearest. The Sigma understands, controlled information is concentrated power. You and this lesson? Understand this truth, information is the battlefield of modern life. Those who give it away blindly enslave themselves. Those who hoard it foolishly stagnate. Those who master its flow, gathering wisely, revealing strategically, command the field. Sun Tzu's voice thunders through centuries, the enlightened ruler lays his plans well ahead, the good general cultivates his resources. For the Sigma, information is the resource. He cultivates it quietly, deploys it decisively, and wins not through noise but through knowledge. Key takeaway, information is the Sigma's sword and shield. By gathering selectively, listening more than speaking, and revealing little, he masters the flow of knowledge. He is unpredictable to rivals, inevitable in action, and sovereign in thought. He who controls information controls victory. Chapter 8, Strategic Detachment. Sun Tzu declared, he will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Victory is not won only by force but by discernment, by knowing when to withdraw, when to conserve, when to detach. The Sigma embodies this principle not just on the battlefield of war but on the battlefield of life. Detachment is not indifference. It is disciplined distance. It is the clarity to see without being consumed, to act without being entangled. In a world ruled by impulses, outrage, and emotional contagion, detachment is rebellion. But for the Sigma, it is survival. He does not bind his peace to the noise of others. He does not tether his direction to approval or his worth to recognition. He practices strategic detachment, a deliberate withdrawal from the unnecessary so he can engage fully in the essential. Detachment and the art of war. Sun Tzu warned, "Do not interfere with an army that is returning home. When you surround an army, leave an outlet free. Do not press a desperate foe too hard." These teachings reveal the wisdom of detachment. Sometimes the strongest move is to refrain. Sometimes wisdom is leaving space instead of forcing collision. The Sigma learns from this. He does not push every point, argue every slight, or pursue every conflict. He knows that pressing too hard often backfires. By detaching, he preserves strength, avoids unnecessary losses, and lets rivals waste themselves. Detachment, then, is not passivity. It is active positioning. It is the choice to stand back so that others fall forward. Emotional detachment. Emotions are fuel. They can empower or consume. Sun Tzu advised, if your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Why? Because a man ruled by anger cannot think clearly. He becomes predictable, reckless, exploitable. The Sigma refuses to be that man. He cultivates emotional detachment, not by suppressing feelings, but by mastering them. Anger, fear, envy, he acknowledges them without letting them steer. He may feel them, but he does not act blindly upon them. This makes him dangerous to manipulators. They cannot bait him into foolishness. They cannot provoke him into weakness. His detachment keeps him unassailable. Case study, the detachment of Miyamoto Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi, the undefeated Japanese swordsman, wrote in the Book of Five Rings, "The important thing in strategy is not to be influenced by the opponent." Musashi fought over 60 duels and never lost. His secret was not merely technique but detachment. He did not let fear or pride dictate his moves. He flowed, adapted, and remained calm while others burned with rage or anxiety. The Sigma mirrors Musashi's spirit. His strength is not just in skill but in composure. His detachment under pressure multiplies his power. Detachment from approval. One of the greatest prisons is the hunger for approval. People contort themselves to please, exhaust themselves to be liked, and compromise themselves to fit. But Sun Tzu wrote, "When you surround an army, always allow a way of escape." The Sigma allows himself escape from this trap by detaching from the need to be validated. This detachment frees him. He does not chase applause. He does not fear rejection. He acts from alignment, not from the shifting winds of others' opinions. This makes him unpredictable, sovereign, and steady. Stoic reinforcement. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." That is detachment distilled. Control of mind, release of obsession with externals. Epictetus added, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." The Sigma lives this. Detachment from reputation gives him freedom to act without fear of ridicule. He moves silently, steadily, unconcerned with misunderstanding. Modern application, the investor's detachment. In finance, emotional entanglement destroys fortunes. The crowd panics at downturns and rushes greedily at bubbles. The detached investor, however, holds calmly, moves deliberately, and acts with strategy. Warren Buffett is famous for this discipline. When others panic, he buys. When others grow euphoric, he withdraws. His detachment from herd emotion made him one of history's wealthiest men. The Sigma applies this beyond money. In conversations, careers, relationships, wherever crowds panic or rush, he stays calm, detached, strategic. Detachment as freedom. Sun Tzu declared, "The general who advances without coveting fame and retreats without fearing disgrace, whose only thought is to protect his country and do good service for his sovereign, is the jewel of the kingdom. Fame and disgrace are the chains of attachment. The Sigma detaches from both. He does not pursue applause or fear embarrassment. His focus is on results, not appearances. This detachment makes him untouchable. Praise does not inflate him. Criticism does not deflate him. He is free. The power of withdrawal. Detachment sometimes means withdrawal. Not every fight is worth fighting. Sun Tzu said, "If he is secure at all points, be prepared for him. If he is in superior strength, evade him." Withdrawal is not weakness but wisdom. The Sigma withdraws from battles that do not serve him. He does not waste energy on petty arguments, fruitless debates, or unwinnable wars. By detaching, he saves strength for decisive battles. His rivals may mock him as evasive, but when the true moment comes, his power overwhelms. Case study: Mandela's strategic detachment. Nelson Mandela, imprisoned for 27 years, practiced profound detachment. He detached from bitterness, from vengeance, from despair. Upon release, he could have unleashed anger, but he chose reconciliation. His detachment transformed a nation. The Sigma sees this lesson: detachment is not coldness but strength. It allows choices that others, chained by passion, cannot make. You and this lesson? Understand this: detachment is not apathy. It is power. It is freedom from manipulation, from panic, from the tyranny of appearances. It is the ability to choose battles, conserve strength, and act with clarity. Sun Tzu promised, "To fight and conquer in all your battles is not supreme excellence. Supreme excellence consists in breaking the enemy's resistance without fighting." Detachment achieves this excellence. By refusing to be drawn into unworthy fights, the Sigma breaks resistance without raising a hand. He is calm while others rage. He is clear while others are clouded. He is sovereign while others are slaves to emotion. This is strategic detachment, the Sigma's shield and sword alike. Key takeaway: strategic detachment is the Sigma's discipline. By detaching from emotions, approval, and unnecessary battles, he conserves strength, multiplies clarity, and becomes unassailable. What enslaves others frees him. What consumes others fuels him. In detachment lies his supremacy. Chapter 9: The Power of Timing. Sun Tzu wrote, "Speed is the essence of war. Take advantage of the enemy's unpreparedness, travel by unexpected routes and strike him where he has taken no precautions." Timing is not speed alone, but the marriage of readiness and opportunity. To move too soon is as ruinous as to move too late. The Sigma understands that timing is everything. His strength lies not merely in knowledge, nor even in strategy, but in the discipline to wait, and the decisiveness to strike at the exact moment. The Alpha charges headlong, eager to dominate. The Beta hesitates endlessly, paralyzed by uncertainty. The Sigma watches, prepares, and moves only when conditions align. His mastery of timing makes him unstoppable. The art of waiting. Sun Tzu counseled, "He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious." Waiting is not laziness. It is active preparation. It is bending the bow, watching the target, calculating the wind. The arrow is ready, but not yet released. The Sigma embraces waiting. He is not seduced by urgency or pressured by the crowd's frenzy. While others rush into markets, relationships, or battles, he studies. He waits. He sharpens. Then, when conditions open, he releases, and his strike lands with devastating precision. Timing in warfare. Military history proves this. At the Battle of Austerlitz, Napoleon feigned weakness, luring the Allies into attacking prematurely. He held his forces back until their formation stretched, their morale thinned. Then he struck, seizing the moment and crushing them. Timing turned weakness into victory. The Sigma studies this principle. He knows that even with fewer resources, correct timing overwhelms superior numbers. He does not envy those with more tools, louder voices, or greater visibility. With timing, he outmaneuvers them. Stoic echoes. Marcus Aurelius wrote, Everything that happens is either endurable or not. If it is endurable, then endure it. If not, then stop complaining. Your destruction will mean its end as well. This is not resignation but timing. Endure when the moment is not ripe. Act when the opening appears. Seneca added, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare, but because we do not dare that they are difficult." Timing requires daring, not recklessness, but courage to strike when opportunity appears. The Sigma balances both Stoic endurance and Stoic daring, guided by Sun Tzu's discipline. Timing in business. In entrepreneurship, timing is everything. Countless startups with brilliant ideas failed because they launched too early. The market was not ready, the infrastructure incomplete, the demand immature. Others failed by arriving too late, when giants already controlled the field. Airbnb succeeded because its timing was perfect. The 2008 financial crisis had shaken trust in traditional systems, and people sought both income and affordable travel. The idea itself was not new, but the timing made it unstoppable. The Sigma internalizes this. He does not cling to ideas for their own sake. He tests timing. He knows that the right move at the wrong time is failure. The right move at the right time is destiny. The patience of archers. Sun Tzu compared energy to the drawing of a crossbow. The string is bent, the arrow pulled back, but the master does not release until the target aligns. The Sigma lives by this image. He draws his bow in solitude, prepares his resources in silence, but does not release prematurely. This patience frustrates others. They mistake it for passivity, for lack of ambition. But when the Sigma's arrow flies, it lands where others could not even aim. Emotional timing. Timing is not only external, it is internal. Acting in anger, grief, or fear is mistiming. Emotional storms distort perception, leading to premature words, rash actions, or burned bridges. Sun Tzu advised, if your opponent is of choleric temper, seek to irritate him. Those who lack emotional timing are easy prey. The Sigma detaches, waits until the storm passes, and acts only when his emotions no longer cloud the target. Case study, Martin Luther King Jr. Martin Luther King Jr. understood timing. His "I Have a Dream" speech did not happen in a vacuum. It was delivered at the peak of civil rights momentum, when the nation's conscience was ripe for stirring. The timing amplified its power, making it immortal. The Sigma mirrors this. He does not speak just to speak. He speaks when words will move the world. Timing and strategic withdrawal. Sometimes the power of timing is not in striking but in retreating. Sun Tzu wrote, "Move not unless you see an advantage, use not your troops unless there is something to be gained." To withdraw before wasting resources is timing just as much as to attack at the perfect instant. The Sigma withdraws when the moment is wrong. He delays when delay is strength. His detachment, as seen in the last chapter, complements his timing. By not being tied to urgency or pride, he can wait until the advantage is his. Rhythm of life. Sun Tzu said, "In war, numbers alone confer no advantage. Do not advance relying on sheer military power. Timing is the multiplier that makes numbers irrelevant." The Sigma applies rhythm to his life. Work, rest, advance, retreat, all flow with timing. He does not grind endlessly or collapse prematurely. He balances, calibrates, and moves when the rhythm dictates. This rhythm sustains his power across years, not just moments. You and this lesson? Understand this truth: the universe runs on timing. Seasons, tides, cycles, all obey rhythm. The man who moves with timing harnesses the universe itself. The man who ignores timing exhausts himself against reality. The Sigma wins because he waits when waiting is wise, and he strikes when striking is decisive. He is never rushed, never delayed, always aligned. Sun Tzu proclaimed, "Victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win." Timing makes the Sigma victorious before battle begins. Key takeaway: Timing is the Sigma's supreme weapon. By waiting, watching, and striking only when the moment aligns, he multiplies his strength. He bends the bow patiently, releases without hesitation, and ensures that every move counts. His timing makes him undefeatable. Chapter 10: The Mask and the Mirage, Deception, Camouflage, and Signal Discipline. All warfare is based on deception. Sun Tzu said it plainly and often: all warfare is based on deception. Many men read the sentence and nod. Few carry it into their operating system. The Sigma makes it architecture. Because he understands the hard truth, in a world of constant surveillance, where everything is recorded, indexed, and retrievable, the only true privacy is the privacy you construct with discipline. And the only true safety is the safety you create with restraint. Deception does not mean dishonor. It means refusing to allow your enemies, overt or subtle, to see your plans before you deploy them. It means controlling what leaks from you, your schedule, your habits, your intentions, your thresholds, your tells. It means dressing your strategy in camouflage until it is too late to counter. Sun Tzu again: when able to attack, we must seem unable. The Sigma lives that sentence. He looks ordinary until the decisive moment. Then he is not ordinary at all. Consider the asymmetry between signal and noise in your life. What you show is signal to others. What you hide is your leverage. Most people reverse the ratio. They display effort for validation and conceal weakness for pride. The Sigma conceals effort to avoid interference and displays strength only when it is already irreversible. He is quiet in planning, loud in execution. His progress is discovered, not announced. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, Sun Tzu warns, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. The darkness protects the thunder. Camouflage begins with the external, your surface. A clean, unremarkable surface invites no investigation. An ostentatious surface is a magnet for predators. The Sigma chooses the first: quiet clothes, quiet car, quiet profile. Not because he lacks ambition, but because he understands the price of attention. Exposure is tax. Visibility is drag. Every eye on you is a hand on your controls. The Sigma wears the cloak of normalcy and lets the world underestimate him. Underestimation is the cheapest security you can buy. In espionage, this is called the mask of plausibility. In business, it's called stealth. In daily life, it's called minding your own affairs. The crowd thrives on spectacle, the Sigma thrives on signal discipline. He manages his digital traces, hardens his accounts, and treats his calendar like classified material. He does not announce travel, telegraph purchases, or narrate goals to strangers. Why would he? Announcements convert optional battles into compulsory ones. Quiet keeps your maneuver space open. Deception continues with the internal, your tells. Poker players know this: eyes that widen on good cards, breath that quickens on bad, fingers that fidget when bluffing. Life has tells too: tones, pauses, rhythms, word choices. A leader betrayed by impatience speaks too soon. A seller betrayed by fear discounts too fast. A negotiator betrayed by ego overjustifies. The Sigma trains to neutralize tells. He practices silence, measures breath, holds neutral posture. He does not let impulsive tone reveal strategic intent. The opponent sees nothing useful, just calm. There is a deeper level: narrative deception. The stories people believe guide their decisions. If you can shape the narrative, you shape the battlefield. Sun Tzu: the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. How? By embedding expectations that cause your adversary to move where you want them. In basic form, this is feint and flank. In modern form, this is storyline management. The Sigma avoids flamboyant claims because claims are handholds for critics. He prefers underpromising and overdelivering, not to be humble, but to pull surprise forward and push risk backward. Historical case studies teach the same lesson. D-Day was not only a landing but a narrative operation, the Allies created phantom armies, fake radio traffic, and inflatable tanks to convince the Germans that Calais was the target, not Normandy. Deception spared thousands of lives and shortened the war. Or consider Operation Mincemeat during World War II. A corpse dressed as a British officer, carrying fake plans, floated ashore to misdirect Nazi defenses. The lesson is timeless: even massive operations require camouflage to succeed. Strategy dies when it is seen too soon. Business has its versions. Apple's product secrecy is legendary because it focuses attention only when supply chains are ready and launch momentum is irreversible. No leaks, minimal pre-announcements, maximum surprise. Even when rumors circulate, the details remain occluded. Surprise multiplies the strike. Contrast this with companies that hype features they cannot ship. Expectations rise, execution lags, trust dies. Signal discipline is not just covert, it is ethical. It aligns reality with reveal. Deception is not only about hiding yourself. It is also about misreading your opponent less. Sun Tzu: if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear 100 battles. To know the enemy, you watch their tells, their timelines, incentives, and fears. You learn what they defend, what they neglect, what they assume. You ask, what do they think I want? What do they expect me to do? Then you do something else. You withhold, delay, or redirect. The enemy fights the ghost you showed while you move where they cannot see. The Sigma practices operational security, OPSEC. He separates identities: public, private, professional. He uses different emails and numbers for different domains. He limits the number of people who know each plan. He assumes that any information shared with more than 3 people becomes public within weeks. He does not overshare with friends out of laziness, he shares only the minimum required for the mission. He understands the power of compartmentalization: if one compartment is breached, the vessel still floats. Signal discipline extends to conflict. When provoked, the Sigma does not react publicly. He does not feed the algorithm of outrage or the economy of gossip. He chooses silence, then acts offline where the results cannot be undone by a misfired tweet or a hot mic. He knows the law of digital war: every public exchange becomes permanent ammunition for your opponents. The best way to win arguments is to render them unnecessary by changing the terrain: new customers, new allies, new channels, rather than wrestling in the mud. Deception has an offensive application: feints. You show interest in one direction to draw resources, then commit elsewhere. In negotiations, you float a minor demand so that conceding it later looks generous, while your major demand, hidden until late, passes unopposed. In product strategy, you emphasize one feature in public while building the truly differentiating capability quietly. Sun Tzu again: hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder, and crush him. The Sigma does not seek drama, he seeks leverage. Yet deception without discipline becomes self-deception. That is the failure mode. Some men become so enamored of masks that they forget the face beneath. The Sigma avoids this by maintaining a strict code: he deceives to protect mission, not to posture. He camouflages to prevent sabotage, not to betray trust. He hides to win, not to cheat. The line is clear: deception serves strategy, it does not replace merit. If your work cannot win when revealed, your deception is a delay, not a defense. Stoicism reinforces the boundary: live in truth internally, operate with prudence externally. The Sigma writes plainly in private journals, discloses his doubts to a very small inner circle, seeks criticism without performing vulnerability for applause. He eliminates the split between private self and public mask by keeping the private self strong. Musasha advised, do nothing that is of no use. Performing yourself online is of no use. It is a theater that siphons strength. The Sigma exits that theater. Let's ground this in practice. Suppose you are building a venture. Camouflage begins by limiting your visible footprint, minimal PR until the flywheel works, quiet beta groups under NDA, supply chain partners vetted for leaks. Your website is simple, your roadmap internal, your dependencies diversified. You cultivate ambiguous signals, you look busy, but no one can tell where. Competitors cannot intercept what they cannot track. When you finally move, launch, hire, raise, you do it with force already assembled. Thunderbolt. Or imagine a career transition. You want out of a decaying firm, into an arena that rewards skill. Deception means you do not signal discontent in the cafeteria or on Slack. You perform your role while building capabilities at dawn and dusk, courses, certifications, prototypes. You meet future allies off-platform. You decline gossip. You underpromise in public meetings and overdeliver in deliverables. Then, when the offer is signed and the timing is right, you resign cleanly with a short letter. No theatrics, no bridges burned, no rumors fed. You leave like water, you were everywhere, and now you are gone. A deeper layer is sensory camouflage, controlling what people perceive when they encounter you. Think of a special forces operator moving through a hostile city. He looks like everyone else, walks like everyone else, buys coffee like everyone else. No flashy gear, no tactical affectations. The camouflage is competence in normalcy. The Sigma uses the same principle. He does not dress like a slogan. He learns the local etiquette of every room, boardroom, gym, dojo, classroom, and blends. He saves his edge for the work. Sun Tzu also counsels ambiguity. When we are near, we must make the enemy believe we are far away. In modern terms, when you are close to a deal, you maintain calm. When you are far from a solution, you project steady process. Ambiguity protects you from pressure. It keeps opponents guessing and allies from broadcasting on your behalf prematurely. It is not lying, it is refusing to publish drafts. Deception also aids mercy. Sometimes you must separate from a toxic partner, an unstable client, a corrosive circle. You do not owe them your real reasons. That might provoke conflict or spiral gossip. Instead, you create a golden bridge, build your opponent a golden bridge to retreat across, Sun Tzu says. You cite bandwidth, priorities, scope. You exit gently and do not leave ammunition. The result is the same, you are free to move. Mercy through narrative saves energy better than scorched earth. There is a spiritual dimension to all this, humility. The man who must always be seen will always be controlled. The Sigma trades the thrill of being noticed for the payoff of being effective. He does not correct casual misreadings of his silence. He lets people think he is less than he is. Then he wins in ways that explanations cannot. You may ask, won't this make me lonely? No. It will make your relationships selective. Camouflage protects intimacy. The few who know you will know the real you, not the performance. The rest will know the results, which is all they deserve. He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, Sun Tzu writes, will be victorious. Prudence preserves joy because it preserves control. You and this lesson. Adopt signal discipline today. Audit your digital exhaust, prune accounts, lock privacy, remove life details that serve strangers. Stop pre-announcing your moves. Reduce your tells, practice silence in meetings, answer slowly, breathe. Take up the mask of normalcy in public and the clarity of truth in private. Build compartments for information and people. Use feints in negotiation and golden bridges in exits. Remember the ethic, deceive to protect mission, never to avoid merit. When you move, move like thunder, and before you move, be night. Key takeaway: deception, camouflage, and signal discipline convert your life from a stage into a strategy. Hide the draft, reveal the masterpiece. Chapter 11, Asymmetry and Leverage, Winning with Less. When Sun Tzu speaks of victory, he rarely means brute force. He means fitness of means to moment, the alignment of a small move with a vulnerable point at the right time. Attack him where he is unprepared, appear where you are not expected. That is asymmetry. It is the science of disproportionate outcomes, smaller input, larger return. The Sigma pursues asymmetry obsessively because he does not aim to be bigger than others, he aims to be better positioned than others. Asymmetry begins with the idea of centers of gravity, the few points where a complex system can be tipped. Most of life is not evenly distributed, it is clustered. A company has a few true profit engines and many accessories. A person has a few essential habits and many trivial ones. A city has a few choke points and many side streets. Sun Tzu's generals looked for the choke points, supply routes, morale, leadership cohesion. The Sigma does the same in modern terrain. He looks for the lever, not the wall. Leverage is the mechanic of asymmetry. With a lever, a child can lift a boulder. In markets, leverage is capital. In technology, leverage is code. In media, leverage is distribution. In careers, leverage is reputation and rare skill. The Sigma accumulates leverage that persists, skills that do not expire quickly, assets that cash flow, networks that are dense with trust, channels that he owns. He avoids leverage that looks powerful but collapses under stress, attention without trust, clout without cash, titles without autonomy. Asymmetry expresses itself in timing, terrain, and tool. Timing: strike when the opponent is reorganizing, celebrating, or blind. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest, Sun Tzu says. Terrain: fight where your advantages matter and his do not. Do not engage an enemy at a place he has prepared. Tool: use the instrument that multiplies your unique strength. Musasha put it plainly, you must understand that there is more than one path to the top of the mountain. Choose the path that maximizes your leverage. Consider David and Goliath as misread history. The boy did not beat the giant by luck. He used a weapon, sling, that turned speed into kinetic energy. In that era, slingers were artillery. The asymmetry was structural. Goliath expected hand-to-hand duel, David created standoff range. Sun Tzu would file this under refusal to fight on the enemy's preferred terms. The Sigma lives by that refusal. Modern examples abound. A small creative studio builds a niche product for a global audience using platforms that compress distribution costs to nearly zero: Shopify, Patreon, Substack. A lone developer ships a useful tool and wins customers because the tool solves a real pain with speed. A writer with a clear voice and a bias toward shipping wins a durable audience without a media apparatus. Asymmetry is not magic, it is deliberate constraint: fewer moving parts, higher force input per part. The Sigma asks of every project, where is the 10x point? Not the 10% improvement, not the incremental tweak, the point where a change multiplies results. Sometimes it is a feature, sometimes it is a constraint, sometimes it is the user you choose not to serve. Sun Tzu: he wins his battles by making no mistakes. That line sounds flat until you realize mistakes consume more force than enemies. Asymmetry starts by removing drains. Plug the leaks, and your same effort becomes superior effort. There is also moral asymmetry, the strength that comes from clean incentives. If your strategy requires lying to customers or burning partners, it may work once, but you will spend the next years defending a brittle edifice. The Sigma prefers strategies that strengthen him as he scales: fair terms, clear expectations, useful products, honest marketing. Moral clarity simplifies decision trees, reduces legal exposure, and compounds reputation. That is a quiet but profound asymmetry. A powerful asymmetry is preparation density. Imagine two contenders. One practices sporadically and improvises under stress. The other rehearses under conditions harder than reality, reviews decisions, seeks critique, and debriefs after action. When a crisis arrives, both move, but the second moves with fewer mistakes and faster iteration. Sun Tzu: victorious warriors win first and then go to war. The Sigma wins first by structuring his prep so thoroughly that the battle is an unveiling. Then there is psychological asymmetry, the advantage of patience. He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not will be victorious. Most people are not prudent, they are impulsive. They must respond now, decide now, post now. The Sigma can wait. Waiting reframes the game, the impatient reveal their hands, the patient gather information. The fight ends before it begins because one combatant is exhausted by self-inflicted urgency. Patience is a lever that costs nothing and pays endlessly. Business strategy teaches barbell asymmetry: Put the majority of your resources into extremely safe, resilient positions, and a small minority into high-upside bets. You cannot be destroyed, and you might be transformed. This is common in investing, but it applies to life. Protect your living costs and health like a fanatic, then place small, bold bets where success is convex, limited downside, large upside. As Sun Tzu reminds, in battle, there are not more than two methods of attack, the direct and the indirect. The barbell blends both, direct for safety, indirect for surprise. Negotiation offers a clean model. The party with a better BATNA, best alternative to a negotiated agreement, has asymmetry. If you can walk away, you have leverage. The Sigma builds walkaway power methodically, multiple customers, multiple offers, multiple. We should talk about tools that scale you. Writing is one. Code is another. Systems thinking a third. These are tools that, once acquired, magnify every hour. A single page of clear writing can align an entire team. A small script can automate a month of manual work. A repeatable checklist can convert chaos into consistency. The Sigma does not collect tools for show. He learns the ones that make his effort heavier than his body weight. There is also geographic asymmetry. Terrain matters. Sun Tzu devotes chapters to it. We may distinguish 6 kinds of terrain. Choose cities and environments that multiply your aims. Some places tax your attention, others refund it. Some places reward noise, others reward outcomes. The Sigma relocates if necessary. He does not martyr himself to a place that will not return his effort. A controversial but essential asymmetry is silence about ambition. If you broadcast your objectives, others can preempt you. If you talk about writing a book, people will give you the dopamine of congratulations and you will write less. If you announce your product roadmap, competitors will copy your best ideas before you build moats. Sun Tzu, he who is skilled in attack keeps the enemy from knowing where to defend. Silence prevents premature defense from forming around your path. Asymmetry is not free. It requires accepting narrow focus. You cannot be everywhere if you intend to be strong somewhere. That is the price. The Sigma pays it willingly. He trims projects, declines meetings, limits commitments. He prunes the tree so that one branch bears heavy fruit. The world will call this obsession, he calls it concentration. Musasha, you must understand the way of other professions. He studies only what binds to his aim. Curiosity everywhere, commitment somewhere. Case study, a one-person media company. Instead of chasing every platform, he picks one distribution channel he can own, email, and one social channel that feeds it. He publishes weekly, strong, and ignores trends that don't compound. He builds a library of evergreen pieces. He interviews not celebrities but practitioners with skin in the game. After 18 months, he has 50,000 subscribers and multiple revenue streams. He never went viral, he went consistent. Asymmetry against the virality casino. Another case, a small software team builds a workflow tool for a neglected industry niche, say, marine logistics or dental lab operations. Large competitors ignore the niche because it's small. The team listens and ships relentless improvements. They achieve product market fit, then local monopoly, then expand adjacently. Asymmetry here is focus against indifference. Sun Tzu, opportunities multiply as they are seized. Seize one neglected beachhead and its neighbors open themselves. Leverage also arises from compounding, a force multiplier masquerading as patience. Every day of consistent training makes future training easier. Every month of consistent publishing makes future distribution cheaper. Every year of consistent saving makes future risk-taking safer. The Sigma picks games where compounding works: strength, skill, trust, capital. He avoids games that reset constantly: performative politics, outrage cycles, status competitions. Compounding requires continuity, noise destroys it. The shadow side of asymmetry is hubris, believing a few wins mean invincibility. Sun Tzu cautions, if you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. A few wins can blind you to changes in terrain. What once was a lever can become a trap if conditions shift. The Sigma avoids ossifying around tactics. He stays humble, runs small experiments, and retires tactics that stop working. He keeps the principle, disproportionate outcomes, while changing the method. Water, not stone. Let's get tactical. To build asymmetry this month, you identify one core habit that would multiply others: early rising, deep work blocks, or daily training. Build it like a machine: trigger, action, reward, review. You choose one channel to own: email list, owned community, direct customer pipeline. Feed it consistently, not episodically. You ship one asset that scales: an article, a tool, a template, a video guide, something that keeps working while you sleep. Design one barbell: protect essentials, cash buffer, health routines. Place a small bet with convex upside: new product variation, new audience segment. You script one walkaway: list the terms that make you say no before negotiation begins. Put them in writing. These moves sound simple. They are. But asymmetry is applied simplicity: small, well-chosen acts that collide with weak points. Sun Tzu's chapters are austere for a reason: direct principles, indirect application. The Sigma never mistakes noise for leverage. He asks before every engagement, is this symmetric or asymmetric? If symmetric, am I stronger? If not, can I refuse or change the game? The answer determines action. If he cannot tilt the board, he leaves the room and builds a board of his own. You and this lesson. Start living as a lever, not a laborer. Concentrate power by pruning commitments. Search for choke points in your craft and build tools that press on them. Pick one channel and saturate it with value. Protect your base so you can gamble at the edges. Turn patience into a weapon. And never fight on ground chosen by someone else. Asymmetry is how you win without needing more. Leverage is how you keep winning without needing to fight. Key takeaway: the Sigma does not overpower the world, he outpositions it. Leverage converts intention into inevitability. Chapter 12: The Economy of Motion, Efficiency, Precision, and the Quiet Edge. Sun Tzu wrote, "There is no instance of a country having benefited from prolonged warfare." This principle is a cornerstone of both warfare and modern life. It is not about simply fighting battles, it is about recognizing that every battle takes energy, time, and focus, resources that cannot be replenished endlessly. In life, motion without precision is waste, and waste is the silent killer of potential. The Sigma recognizes this and hones his motion with surgical discipline. Every action must move him closer to his goals, and every step must advance him with purpose. Efficiency, in the Sigma's lexicon, is not merely a means to an end, it is the method by which he aligns his effort with his purpose. To subdue the enemy without fighting is the acme of skill, says Sun Tzu. The Sigma internalizes this. He seeks to streamline his efforts in such a way that each one serves a clear, focused purpose, eliminating unnecessary struggles and focusing all his energy where it will have the most impact. Efficiency as weapon, mastery of space and time. Efficiency is a weapon, just as the scalpel is the weapon of the surgeon, and the arrow is the weapon of the archer. The Sigma applies this weapon to his daily life. Each motion, whether it's physical, emotional, or intellectual, must be calculated and decisive. Sun Tzu teaches that war is the art of deception, but it is also the art of minimalism. He will win who knows when to fight and when not to fight. Efficiency begins with the knowledge of when not to act. Every unnecessary motion weakens your position, just as an unnecessary word can weaken your argument. To be efficient is to recognize that every second spent unnecessarily is a second stolen from your larger mission. The Sigma's daily actions are chosen with the utmost precision. He does not waste time on small distractions, idle chatter, or self-sabotage. His focus is aligned with his purpose, and his purpose is his compass. He moves only when his action will yield a clear, purposeful result. His life is not defined by busyness but by effectiveness. Consider a general preparing for battle. The preparation process is filled with choices: when to march, when to rest, when to deploy forces. But the real skill lies not in how much is done, but in how much unnecessary effort is avoided. The Sigma applies this concept to his personal life. He streamlines his environment, his schedule, and his habits to minimize waste. He chooses his activities like a general chooses his battles, only when they are decisive and aligned with his end goals. In the modern world, we are surrounded by a cacophony of distractions. Notifications, emails, calls, messages, each one a fragment of potential energy. The Sigma refuses to be scattered. He controls his time and energy like a general controls his army. He eliminates unnecessary commitments and distractions that would drain his focus. Every commitment he makes is carefully weighed for its potential impact on his goals. He practices the art of non-doing, a concept borrowed from Taoist philosophy and aligned with Sun Tzu's principle that to win without fighting is the pinnacle of strategy. Precision and the singular strike. The Sigma moves with precision. Musashi's famous quote, "Do nothing that is of no use," applies directly to the economy of motion. Every move, every action, every word must have a clear and useful purpose. The Sigma understands that even a small, precise action can lead to a decisive result. Sun Tzu emphasizes this when he writes, "Strike when the enemy is weak, and attack when the opportunity is favorable." Precision in action means understanding the landscape, identifying the weak points, and deploying force exactly when it will make the greatest impact. Consider the surgical strike. In warfare, a general who understands the terrain and the condition of his enemy can choose to engage at the moment when the enemy is least prepared. In life, the Sigma looks for similar moments of weakness or opportunity. He strikes only when conditions are optimal, ensuring that his energy is expended in ways that are sure to pay off. A hasty, uncalculated move is the mark of a poor strategist. The Sigma does not rush, he waits for the right moment and then strikes with the full force of his preparation. This is the essence of leveraging precision. By ensuring that every action has clear and defined objectives, the Sigma ensures that his movements compound over time. Each action builds on the last, and together they form a formidable, unstoppable momentum. The discipline of rest. Efficiency is not constant movement. While efficiency demands action, it also demands restraint. Sun Tzu teaches, "He who is prudent and lies in wait for an enemy who is not, will be victorious." Efficiency is not about ceaseless motion, it is about moving only when needed. The Sigma does not fill his schedule with meaningless tasks for the sake of being busy. Instead, he carves out time for recovery, reflection, and recalibration. Like a warrior who rests between battles, he understands that energy must be conserved and restored. In the modern world, rest is often undervalued. There is a pervasive culture of hustle that glorifies constant activity. But the Sigma knows that this is a trap. Motion for motion's sake is counterproductive. In fact, rest is an integral part of efficiency. Without sufficient recovery, the quality of your action deteriorates, and your ability to execute with precision is compromised. The Sigma takes time for deep rest, mental rest, emotional rest, and physical rest. He knows that time spent in stillness is not wasted, it is replenishing. He engages in activities that restore his focus, meditation, solitude, reading, and reflection. Rest is the phase of recovery, where the mind recalibrates, the body heals, and the spirit regenerates. This restorative process is critical for maintaining the efficiency needed to face life's battles. Without it, one is doomed to burn out. Consider the samurai, who would train intensely for long periods but also take time for mental and physical restoration. They understood that efficiency is not constant motion but a rhythm of action and recovery. The Sigma adopts this same rhythm in his life. He knows that if he is to perform at his highest level, he must allow time for mental recovery, for disengagement from the daily grind. This is not laziness, it is tactical restraint. The Sigma's efficiency rests on his ability to balance work and rest, action and pause. The power of constraints. Constraints create the conditions for creativity and innovation. Sun Tzu teaches, use the conquered foe to augment one's own strength. In modern life, constraints act in a similar way. They force the Sigma to think more creatively, to devise smarter solutions, and to act with greater purpose. Constraints make him resourceful. When you only have limited resources, whether time, money, or energy, every decision becomes more important. The Sigma embraces constraints because they force him to optimize his efforts. Without constraints, people often waste their resources on frivolous pursuits. The Sigma understands that time is limited, so he uses it judiciously. He does not fritter away his days on tasks that do not serve his long-term objectives. Instead, he imposes constraints on himself, creating boundaries that force him to focus on what truly matters. By saying no to the unimportant, he says yes to the essential. The principle of constraints extends to relationships as well. Sun Tzu's advice on alliances is clear: if your ally is strong, you will become stronger; if your ally is weak, you will become weaker. The Sigma does not overcommit to relationships or networks that drain his energy. He surrounds himself with people who challenge him, who push him forward. He seeks quality, not quantity. Each relationship is a resource, and he uses it strategically. By maintaining a limited but powerful circle, the Sigma maximizes his influence and impact. Asymmetry and the art of leverage. Leverage is another dimension of the economy of motion. Sun Tzu's teachings on leverage are woven throughout his work. He wins who knows when to fight and when not to fight. The Sigma knows that to leverage his strengths, he must first understand where the greatest return on effort lies. Not every action will yield equal results, and the Sigma directs his energy only toward areas where the return will be disproportionate to the effort. Consider a small business owner who creates a highly effective product that serves a niche market. Rather than competing directly with larger, established companies, the Sigma identifies a gap in the market, an underserved need, and focuses his efforts on that gap. The leverage comes from understanding where the weak points are in the market, not from fighting the strongest players head-to-head. By focusing on a narrow, high-return target, the Sigma can achieve outsized results with fewer resources. This is the essence of asymmetry, leveraging small inputs for large outputs. The Sigma is not interested in playing on a level field with the competition. He wants to find the leverage points where his effort will have the greatest impact. Whether it's a skill, a resource, a relationship, or a technology, the Sigma's strategy revolves around leveraging what others overlook or undervalue. You and this lesson? Efficiency requires an audit of your motion. Where are you scattering energy on unnecessary pursuits? What small, focused actions can you take that will multiply your results? Streamline your schedule, automate your savings, focus your energy. Train yourself in precision. Master your speech, your work, and your body with restraint. Recognize when to move and when to pause. Optimize for leverage and invest your resources only where they will yield the highest return. Remember, efficiency is not the absence of movement, it is the presence of purpose in every move. Key takeaway: the Sigma masters the economy of motion by focusing on efficiency, precision, and leverage. His actions are calculated, his energy conserved, and his impact magnified by the careful application of force. Chapter 13: The Discipline of Silence, Power in Restraint. Sun Tzu declared, all warfare is based on deception. Silence is one of the most profound forms of deception, not in the sense of dishonesty, but in its ability to conceal strength, intention, and direction. Where noise broadcasts vulnerability, silence radiates control. The Sigma understands that restraint is not passivity, it is deliberate force held in reserve. Silence is not emptiness, it is density. It is power compressed, waiting for the precise moment of release. In a culture obsessed with noise, the Sigma walks the opposite path. Every platform shouts, every person competes for attention, every leader feels compelled to speak constantly. Sun Tzu's wisdom slices through this noise. Let your plans be dark and impenetrable as night, and when you move, fall like a thunderbolt. The Sigma adopts silence as a strategy. His silence is not ignorance, it is calculation. It allows him to observe, to collect intelligence, and to prepare. It creates the conditions for decisive action. Silence as strategy. The discipline of silence begins with understanding that words are movements, and every movement consumes energy. Most people squander their words the way armies squander supplies. They talk endlessly, revealing their plans, exposing their weaknesses, broadcasting their doubts. The Sigma does not. He speaks with discipline, knowing that every unnecessary word is a potential leak of power. Sun Tzu observed, the supreme art of war is to subdue the enemy without fighting. Silence subdues without engagement. When you withhold response, you deny others the fuel they seek. Arguments collapse without your participation. Gossip loses momentum without your contribution. Opponents become unbalanced when their provocations meet a wall of calm. Silence disarms without lifting a sword. Think of the great negotiator. The one who speaks least often commands the most attention. Silence, in negotiation, becomes leverage. The Sigma employs this with mastery. He knows that people rush to fill silence with concessions, with explanations, with over-disclosure. By saying less, he gains more. This is the paradoxical strength of restraint. Observation in stillness. Silence is not absence, it is perception. By refusing to speak, the Sigma increases his ability to listen and observe. Sun Tzu emphasized the importance of intelligence. Know the enemy and know yourself, and you can fight 100 battles without disaster. Silence amplifies observation, allowing the Sigma to gather knowledge undistracted by his own noise. When others rush to speak, to perform, to dominate conversations, the Sigma waits. He studies the battlefield of human behavior, tone, hesitation, posture, subtext. Words may lie, but patterns reveal truth. Silence grants him the vantage point. It transforms him into a mirror that reveals others more than it reveals him. This is how Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger operate in meetings. They are known for listening far more than they speak. By withholding their thoughts, they allow others to over-disclose. Patterns emerge. Truth surfaces. The Sigma studies this approach. He knows that silence, wielded correctly, is an intelligence weapon sharper than any argument. Silence a psychological fortress. Noise is a form of surrender. To broadcast every thought, every reaction, every emotion is to hand others the map to your citadel. Sun Tzu advised, appear at points which the enemy must hasten to defend, march swiftly to places where you are not expected. Silence conceals your movements. It prevents enemies from anticipating your next step. When you speak sparingly, others are forced to guess, to miscalculate, to invent narratives. Silence forces others into error. Think of Musashi's maxim, do not reveal your form to the enemy. Silence is invisibility. It cloaks your intentions, your ambitions, your vulnerabilities. It denies opponents the ability to predict your behavior. In the age of social media oversharing, this invisibility is priceless. The Sigma withholds not out of fear, but out of strategic superiority. He knows that to be fully seen is to be constrained, but to remain partially concealed is to remain free. Silence in conflict. Silence is also a shield in conflict. Most fights are fueled by reaction, an insult followed by a retort escalating into hostility, hostility spiraling into vendetta. But what if the retort never comes? What if the flame meets water instead of gasoline? The conflict fizzles. The Sigma knows this. He practices silence not because he is timid, but because he refuses to expend energy where victory yields nothing. If he sends reinforcements everywhere, he will be weak everywhere, warned Sun Tzu. To fight every verbal skirmish is to scatter strength. Silence is concentration. Consider Marcus Aurelius, who wrote in his Meditations, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Silence embodies this principle. By withholding reaction, the Sigma refuses to mirror the weakness of those who provoke him. His restraint is not suppression, it is sovereignty. He dictates the terms of engagement, and often, those terms are disengagement. The creative power of silence. Yet silence is not only defensive. It is generative. Out of silence comes creation. Writers, musicians, and innovators retreat into silence to craft their work. The Sigma understands that constant noise corrodes creativity. Only in silence can deep thought take root. Sun Tzu's counsel applies here: ponder and deliberate before you make a move. Silence creates the space for deliberation, for the slow brewing of strategy, for the emergence of original thought. Think of Isaac Newton, who retreated into isolation during the Great Plague of London. In his silence and solitude, he discovered the laws of motion and gravity. The world called it his annus mirabilis, his miraculous year. Silence gave birth to breakthroughs that noise could never have produced. The Sigma models this principle: withdrawal into silence not as retreat, but as incubation of genius. Social silence and influence. In social settings, silence distinguishes the Sigma. While others rush to dominate conversations, he withholds. His silence is not awkwardness, it is gravity. People lean toward silence. They project their assumptions onto it, often attributing wisdom or depth to what is simply restraint. Sun Tzu observed, "Hold out baits to entice the enemy. Feign disorder, and crush him." Silence can be the bait. Others reveal themselves in their attempts to interpret your quiet. In their effort to fill the void, they expose their weaknesses. Steve Jobs leveraged silence masterfully. In meetings, he often let long pauses linger after a statement. Others scrambled to fill the space, revealing anxieties or offering concessions. His silence was not absence, it was dominance. The Sigma studies this and applies it. He knows that silence is not a vacuum, it is a magnet. Silence and self-mastery. Silence is also the discipline of mastering the inner voice. Most people are at war with themselves, their minds consumed by noise. Silence, cultivated through meditation or reflection, brings order to the inner battlefield. Sun Tzu insisted, victorious warriors win first and then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first and then seek to win. Silence prepares the inner warrior. It creates victory before conflict begins. Practicing silence means restraining the constant impulse to respond, to react, to broadcast. It means mastering the delay between stimulus and response. Viktor Frankl, survivor of the concentration camps, wrote, "Between stimulus and response there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response." Silence expands that space. The Sigma wields it as armor and as sword. You and this lesson? Audit your noise. How much do you reveal in words, in posts, in reactions that serve no purpose? Practice deliberate silence. In conversations, pause longer than is comfortable and watch what surfaces. In conflict, refuse to answer immediately, make your silence the strategy. In life, carve out hours or days of solitude. Use that silence to observe, to reflect, to create. Remember, words are movements, and movements cost energy. Conserve your energy by rationing your words. Silence is not emptiness, it is compressed force. Master silence, and when you finally choose to speak, your words will strike like a thunderbolt. End of Part 2.